The massive ship Dominator moved through space like a predator stalking its prey. Its hull was made of sharp crystal that caught the light from distant stars. On the bridge, Commander Vexen stood watching the planet below. Fires burned across the surface. Another world had fallen to the apex. "How many are left alive?" Vexen asked, his voice cold as ice. 17 million, answered his officer. All ready for processing, Vexen smiled. For 3,000 years, this had been the way of things. The apex ruled the galaxy because they were the strongest. They were built to hunt. They were built to kill. Other species were built too. Serve or die. The Vorthok were warriors with crystal skin that could not be broken. They shared one mind across their whole species, making them perfect soldiers. The Krillian were made of pure energy and could burn through any defense. The Nethys could change their shape to look like anyone, perfect for spying. The Gorvani were giants with armor so thick that nothing could hurt them. Together, these four species had divided the galaxy between them. Hundreds of other species served them as slaves, workers, or food. This was the natural order. The strong ruled the weak. It had always been this way. In a small cell deep inside the ship, Ambassador, Keith waited for his death. Once, he had been a teacher at the great Zalani University. He had studied the stars and dreamed of meeting other species in peace. Now he was a prisoner, waiting to be sent to the breeding farms. The Zalani were a gentle people. They had soft tentacles instead of arms and big eyes that could see beauty in everything. They had never built weapons. They had never wanted to hurt anyone. They thought all species could be friends. They were wrong, please, Keith said to the guard. My people, offer no threat. We only want to study and learn. Surely there is room in your empire for shut-up food, the guard said. You exist to serve us, nothing more. Keith's tentacles curled in pain. His people were dying. His children were being taken to places he did not want to think about. His beautiful world was being stripped bare for resources, but Keith had one. Last trick. The Zalani had natural electricity in their bodies. They used it to power their machines and talk to each other across great distances. Keith had been saving his strength for days, building up a charge. He pressed his tentacles against the communication device on his collar, the one they used to translate his words. With all his remaining power, he overloaded it. The device exploded in sparks, but not before sending one final message across the galaxy. This is Ambassador Keith of the Zalani Republic, he said, his voice carrying across the stars. Our worlds burn. Our people are enslaved. The Apex Consortium thinks they are the ultimate predators. They think the galaxy belongs to them. If any free peoples exist, if any species still remembers what it means to choose their own fate, please help us. Show them they are wrong. Message traveled through space, bouncing from one communication relay to another. It reached empty solar systems. It reached dead worlds. It reached the territories of species who had long ago given up hope. Most who heard it turned away. What could they do? The Apex were too strong. Resistance was impossible. It's better to live as slaves than die as heroes. But the message reached one small blue world at the edge of known space. A world the Apex had never seen before. A world full of creatures who had never learned to bow down to anyone. On Earth, Captain Minho sat in his chair on the bridge of the ship engine. His crew was young and eager, trained to explore space and meet new species. They had found something strange. Floating near their solar system? A probe from somewhere far away? Sir, said Lieutenant Jiwoo, we have finished studying the alien device. It contains what appears to be a distress signal. Can you translate it? Working on it now, sir. The language is complex, but our computers are learning. Hours later, the bridge fell silent as they listened to Keith's message. The words painted a picture of horror. Entire species kept like animals. Worlds burned for their resources. A galaxy divided between hunters and prey. Sir Jiwoo said quietly, long-range sensors are detecting ships approaching our system. 3. Vessels. Very large, unknown configuration. Minho felt his heart start to beat faster. Are they responding to our signals? No, sir. They appear to be charging weapons. The lead ship belonged to the Apex. Commander Vexton stood on its bridge, studying the readings from this new star system. The probe's trail led here. Time to collect it and deal with whoever had found it. "What do we know about this species?" he asked. "Bipedal mammals, sir. No natural weapons. No armor. Soft skin. Small teeth. Classification is clear. Prey species. Very low threat level." Vexton laughed. "Standard intimidation protocol. Show them their place in the food chain." Oh. Apex expected terror. They expected surrender. They expected these soft mammals to beg for mercy, like every other species had done for 3,000 years. Instead, humans opened fire. The first shot lit up space like a small sun. Nuclear fire bloomed between the ships as a human defense. Platform sacrificed itself to take down an Apex scout ship. "It's impossible," Vexton hissed. "Prey species don't fight back." But the humans were not finished. More ships appeared from behind planets and moons. They moved in patterns the Apex had never seen before. They shared information instantly across their fleet. They targeted weak points in Apex ships that no one should have known about. "How do they know our technology?" an officer asked. "They don't," Vexen realized. "They're learning it right now." In the middle of battle, fight lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 2 Apex ships were destroyed, and the third was running home with news that would change everything. For the first time in 3,000 years, prey had refused to be prey. The age of the Apex was ending. Something new was beginning. Captain Minho stood in the medical bay of his ship, staring at the alien body on the table. The Vorthok warrior looked like a man made of green crystal, but the crystal was cracked and broken. Dark fluid leaked from the wounds. How did they die so easily? Asked Dr. Yunji, the ship's scientist.
Oh.
Their armor looked so strong. Minho picked up the combat knife that had killed the alien. It was just regular steel, nothing special. Sergeant Tiemann found the weak spots. The crystal plates don't connect perfectly. There are gaps. But how did he know where to look? Studied them during the fight, watched how they moved, found their weakness. Dr. Yunji began taking apart the alien's weapon. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Gun-fired bolts of superheated plasma that could melt through steel. But as she worked, she found something interesting. "Captain, look at this. The weapon is designed for someone with 4 arms. The targeting system expects the user to be connected to other minds, like a hive." "What does that mean?"
It means
"They're not used to fighting individuals. Expect their enemies to think and act as a group. But they also expect their enemies to be weaker than them." Minho nodded. The battle had been strange. The aliens were skilled fighters, but they seemed confused by human tactics. They expected humans to either run away or attack in predictable patterns. Instead, human ships had worked together while still thinking independently. "Sir Lieutenant." Ji Woo called from the bridge, receiving a transmission from Earth's command. "They want to know about the alien technology." Minho made his way to the bridge. On the main screen, General Kungmin appeared. His face was serious, as always. Behind him, other officers were studying data and making plans. "Captain, your report. Says the aliens called themselves the Apex Consortium. What can you tell us about them?" "They seem to control large parts of the galaxy, sir. From what we could translate from their computers, they've been in charge for thousands of years. Keep other species as slaves or food. They've never met resistance." "No, sir. They seem to think it's impossible. Their whole culture is based on the idea that strong species rule weak ones. They can't imagine prey fighting back." General Kungmin was quiet for a moment. "Captain, we've been analyzing the distress signal that started all this. The Zalani Republic, they're still under attack. Their whole species might be extinct soon." "What are our orders, sir?" "That's what we're deciding. The Earth has been hidden from the galaxy for millions of years. We could stay hidden. Pretend this never happened. Keep our world safe." Minho felt anger building in his chest. "Sir, with respect, we can't just let them die. These Apex monsters are killing entire species. Someone has to stop them." "With what?" "Captain, you fought 3 ships and barely won. Intelligence suggests the Apex have thousands of ships, maybe millions. Dr. Yunji stepped forward. General, I've been studying their technology. They're advanced, but not as advanced as they think. Their weapons are powerful, but inefficient. Their ships are strong, but slow. And their tactics are 3,000 years old. What are you saying, Doctor? I'm saying they've been bullying helpless species for so long, they've forgotten how to fight real wars. They're like a heavyweight boxer who's only ever fought children. They're strong, but they don't know how to handle someone who fights back. General Kyungmin looked at the data on his screens. Intelligence reports, ship counts, star charts, showing the size of Apex territory. Even if you're right, we can't take on their entire empire alone. We won't be alone, Minho said. The galaxy is full of species who hate the Apex. They just need someone to show them that resistance is possible. And if we're wrong, if we start a war we can't win, then at least we'll die fighting instead of hiding. The transmission ended. For hours, Earth's leaders debated. Some wanted to hide and hoped the Apex never found them. Others wanted to fight but thought it was hopeless. Few wanted to try negotiating. But then another message arrived. This one was from the Zilani system. Ambassador Keith appeared on the screen, but he looked terrible. His tentacles were burned and scarred. His eyes were filled with pain. Unknown species, he said weakly. Your attack on the Apex ships has been detected. They are sending more ships, many more ships. They consider you a threat to their natural order. General Kungmin leaned forward. This is General Kungmin of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress signal. Earth, we have no record of your species. How did you remain hidden? You stayed in our own corner of the galaxy? But that changes now. You would risk your world for strangers? We don't make deals with slavers, and we don't abandon people who ask for help. Keith's tentacles curled in surprise. But you are so few. The Apex are so many. Numbers don't always win wars, Kyungmin replied. Sometimes courage does. The transmission ended. Almost immediately, new signals began arriving. The Apex were mobilizing their fleets. Hundreds of ships were moving toward Earth's location. Sir, Ji Woo said, we're also detecting something else. Communication signals from across the galaxy. Species we've never heard of. They're talking about the humans who fought back. Dr. Yunji smiled as she listened to the alien voices. They're asking questions. About us. About resistance. About hope. General Kungmin stood up. A message on all frequencies. Tell every species in the galaxy that Earth stands with the free peoples of the galaxy. Tell them that the age of the Apex is ending, and if they don't believe us, then we'll prove it to them. The message went out across the stars. For the first time in 3,000 years, slaves began to dream of freedom. The Apex had made their first mistake. They had shown the galaxy that they could be hurt, and now everyone was watching to see what would happen next. Dr. Yunji worked late into the night, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. The captured Apex technology was spread across. Her laboratory like pieces of a puzzle. Weapons, armor, computer systems, all of it more advanced than anything humans had built, but somehow familiar. Computer-run analysis on the Vorthok plasma rifle, she said, yawning. The AI's voice was calm and mechanical. Analysis complete. The weapon uses controlled fusion to generate plasma bolts. However, the targeting system requires neural link technology to function properly. Yunji frowned. Neural link. You mean they're connected to each other's minds? Correct. The Vorthok appear to share thoughts and information through biological quantum entanglement. Individual weapons are designed to work as part of a network. Why they were so confused during the battle, Yunji realized. They expect all their enemies to think the same way. But humans think independently. She picked up a piece of Vorthok armor. The crystal was beautiful, like green glass, but incredibly strong. Yet Sergeant Timon had found a way to break it with a simple knife. Computer, analyze the armor's weak points. The crystal plates are grown in segments. Connection points show stress fractures under rapid temperature changes. A skilled opponent could exploit these vulnerabilities. Yunji smiled. The Apex weren't invincible. They were just bullies who had never met anyone smart enough to fight back properly. Her thoughts were interrupted by an alarm. All personnel too. Stations General Kyungmin to the communications center immediately. Yunji ran through the corridors of the Earth Defense Command Center. The building was buzzing with activity. Officers hurried between rooms carrying reports and datapads. On every screen, star charts showed the movement of Apex fleets. In the main communications room, General Kyungmin stood before a massive display. Captain Minho was there too, along with dozens of other officers. They all looked worried. Dr. Kyungmin said, "We need your expertise. We're about to make first contact with the Zilani survivors." The main screen flickered to life. Ambassador. Keith appeared, but he looked even worse than before. His tentacles were wrapped in bandages and his large eyes were filled with pain and fear. "General Kyungmin," Keith said, "I bring terrible news. The Apex have destroyed 3 more of our worlds. My people are dying. Soon there will be no Zilani left in the galaxy." "How many of your people are still alive?" Kyungmin asked. "Perhaps 1 million, maybe less. We are scattered across many hidden places, but the Apex are hunting us like animals." Dr. Yunji stepped forward. "Ambassador, we've been studying Apex technology. We think we can help your people fight back." Keith's tentacles curled in confusion. "Fight back? General, you do not understand. The Apex have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. No species has ever successfully resisted them. They are too strong, too many. Every bully thinks they're unbeatable," Minho said, "until someone punches them in the nose. But they have millions of ships, billions of soldiers. What can one species do against such power?" General Kyungmin pulled up a galactic map. "Ambassador, how many species are enslaved by the Apex? Hundreds, perhaps thousands. Most have forgotten they were ever free. And they all hate their masters, of course. But hate does not create starships or weapons." Dr. Yunji smiled. "No, but knowledge does. And we're very good at sharing knowledge." The transmission was interrupted by alarms. Lieutenant Jiwoo's voice came over the speakers. "General, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Apex fleet. They're preparing for a major assault." "On Earth?" Kyungmin asked. "Right. No, sir. On what's left of the Zilani Republic. We're going to finish the job." Ambassador Keith's image flickered as his transmission grew weak. "General, the Apex are coming. This will be our final transmission. Thank you for trying to help us. Perhaps other species will learn from your example." "Wait," Kyungmin said. "Ambassador, we're not giving up. We're coming to help." "Cannot. Your fleet is too small. You will only die with us." "Maybe, but we won't let you die alone." The transmission ended. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth's small fleet against the entire Apex war machine. It was suicide. "Sir," an officer said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider. We could help the Zilani in other ways. Send supplies, information, weapons." "No," Kyungmin said firmly. "If we hide now, we'll be hiding forever. The Apex will eventually find Earth. Better to fight them now, when we have allies." "What allies?" Another officer asked. "The Zilani are almost extinct." Dr. Yunji was studying the Galactic Communications Network. "General, look at this. Since our battle with the Apex, we've detected thousands of new transmissions. Species are talking to each other. They're sharing information about us." "What kind of information? They want to know about the humans who fought back? They're asking questions about resistance, about hope, about freedom." Captain Minho stepped forward. "General, I request permission to take my fleet to the Zilani system." "Captain, you'll be outnumbered 1,000 to 1? "Yes, sir. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is to show the galaxy that someone is willing to fight." Kyungmin looked at the faces around him. Young officers who had never seen real war. Scientists who had spent their lives studying the stars. Soldiers who had trained for battles they never expected to fight. "Send a message on all frequencies," he said. "Tell every species in the galaxy that Earth stands with the free peoples of the galaxy. Tell them that any species willing to fight for freedom is welcome to join us. And if no one comes," Chewie asked, "then we'll fight alone, but at least we'll fight." The message went out across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000,000 hidden places, beings who had forgotten the meaning of hope began to remember. The Apex had made their greatest mistake. They had shown the galaxy that they could bleed, and now everyone was watching to see what would happen next. Commander Vexen stood among the burning ruins of the last Zilani city. The crystal spires that had once reached toward the stars were now broken stumps. The beautiful gardens where Zilani children had played were nothing but ash and smoke. "It is finished," he told his officers. "The Zilani Republic is extinct." His soldiers cheered, their crystal armor gleaming in the firelight. Another species had been removed from the galaxy. Another world claimed for the apex. It should have felt like victory, but something was wrong. "Sir," Sub-Commander Krillinth approached, his mental link flickering with confusion. "We are receiving strange reports from across the sector."
"What
kind of reports?" "Prey species are acting ... differently. They are not following orders. Some are refusing to report for work, others are asking questions about the humans." Vexen's mandibles clicked in annoyance. The mammals from the unknown world had caused more trouble than expected. But they were finished now. Soon, the apex would hunt them down and restore order to the galaxy. Suddenly, every communication device in the city activated at once. The air filled with static, then cleared to reveal a human voice speaking in dozens of languages. "Captain Minho of the Earth Defense Force. We are entering the Zilani system. Any species willing to stand against tyranny, join us. Any species tired of being prey, it is time to hunt." Vexen laughed, the sound like breaking glass. 17 ships. These mammals bring 17 ships against my battle fleet of 300. They are brave, but bravery cannot overcome mathematics. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The first sign of trouble came from the Kinji, a species of bird-like creatures who had served as apex messengers for 200 years. Instead of carrying orders, they began sharing them, spreading information about apex ship movements to every species in the galaxy. "No," an officer reported. "The Kinji are not delivering our messages. They are broadcasting them to everyone." "Discipline them," Vexen ordered. "We cannot find them, sir. They have abandoned their posts." The second sign came from the Orvani, aquatic beings who maintained the apex communication networks. Suddenly, military channels began experiencing technical difficulties that seemed to affect only apex ships. "Sir, we have lost contact with half our fleet," Krillinth reported. "The communication arrays are malfunctioning, all of them at once." "The military frequencies, sir. Civilian channels work perfectly." Vexen was beginning to understand. The prey species were not just hiding, they were helping each other. They were working together against their masters. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "human ships are dropping out of hyperspace." On the main screen, 17 small ships appeared near the planet. They looked fragile compared to the massive apex fleet, but they moved with purpose and precision. "Open fire," Vexen commanded. "Destroy them all." The apex ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and energy beams filled space. Any normal fleet would have been destroyed in seconds. But the human ships did something impossible. They shared their shields. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "the human ships are redistributing their defensive energy. When one ship's shields fail, the others boost their power to compensate. That is impossible. Each ship should protect itself." "They are fighting as one organism, sir, but they are still thinking independently." Vexen watched in growing horror. As the human ships began to coordinate their attacks, they did not fight like the apex, trying to overpower their enemies. Fought like wolves, working together to bring down larger prey. But worse than the humans were the others. Ships he had never seen before were appearing throughout the system. The Kinji had somehow armed their messenger ships with human weapons. The Orvani were using their technical knowledge to target apex shield generators. Even some Zilani survivors were flying captured apex vessels, their tentacles adapted to alien controls. "How many ships are we facing?" Vexen demanded. "The count keeps changing, sir. New ships keep arriving. They appear to be from every species in the sector. Prey species do not coordinate. They cannot form alliances. These species are sharing resources, sir. Technology, weapons, shield frequencies. They are treating each other as equals." The battle raged for hours. The Apex had superior numbers and firepower, but the Alliance had something the Apex had never encountered: hope. When human ships were damaged, Orvani engineers appeared to repair them. When Kinji scouts were overwhelmed, Zalani vessels provided cover. When entire squadrons were destroyed, new ones formed from the survivors, mixing different species in ways that should have been impossible.
Ow.
Sir, the communications officer called. Out. We are receiving reports from 17 star systems. Prey species are rebelling. They are demanding freedom. Impossible, Vexen hissed. Prey species submit to predators. It is the natural order. They are not submitting, sir. They are fighting, and they are winning. On the screen, a human destroyer was dying. Its hull was cracked open, and atmosphere was streaming out. But the ship continued to fight, coordinating attacks for 3 other species until the very end.
For
the Zalani came the final transmission. For the free peoples of the galaxy. The explosion took out an entire Apex squadron. Sir, another officer reported, we are receiving surrender requests from 43 worlds. They wish to join the Human Alliance. Vexton stared at the battle display. The superior fleet was being torn apart by ships that should have been easy prey. But they were not fighting like prey. They were fighting like predators. No, that was wrong. They were fighting like something the Apex had never encountered. They were fighting like a pack. Sir, we are losing. Should we retreat? Thon watched as another human ship sacrificed itself to save a group of Zalani fighters. The humans were not trying to replace the Apex as galactic rulers. They were trying to make every species into rulers of their own fate. Yes, he whispered. Tell the High Council that everything has changed. What should we tell them, sir? Tell them the prey has learned to hunt. As the surviving Apex ships fled, the Alliance fleet did not pursue. Instead, they began rescuing survivors, both enemy and friend. They shared medical supplies and offered aid to the wounded. Vexen watched from his damaged ship as human medics worked to save injured Apex soldiers. It made no sense. In war, you destroyed your enemies. You did not heal them. But as he watched, he began to understand the true horror of what Earth had unleashed. The humans were not just better fighters. They were better beings. And they were. Teaching everyone else to be better too. The age of the Apex was ending. The age of the pack had begun. The Void Citadel had never been threatened in its 3,000-year history. The massive fortress floated in the darkness between stars, protected by weapons that could destroy planets. Inside its dark halls, the 4 leaders of the Apex Consortium met for the first time in centuries. High Predator, Zarkiel of the Gorvani, stood 12 feet tall, his body covered in armor thicker than tank plating. His voice rumbled like an earthquake as he spoke to the others. The mammals have infected 70 worlds, he said. Their disease spreads faster than we can stop it. Commander Vexton's crystal form reflected the dim light of the chamber. Call it freedom. They are teaching prey species to think like predators. Impossible, hissed Valinatha of the Nethys. Her body shifted between different shapes as she spoke. First looking like a Vorthok, then a human, then something else entirely. Prey behavior is in their genes. It cannot be changed. Can it not? The voice belonged to Krylin of the Krillian. His energy-based form crackled with barely controlled power. I have watched their battles. They work together without sharing minds. They sacrifice themselves for strangers. They give their best weapons to their weakest allies. Zarkiel's massive fist crashed into the metal table, leaving a crater. Then, we will show them what true predation means. Every ship, every soldier, one final battle. We will burn their Earth to ash and scatter the pieces as a warning. The combined Apex fleet was beyond imagination. 10,000 ships representing the military might of 4 species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They moved through space like a dark cloud, blotting out the stars. But when they arrived at Earth, they found something waiting that made their blood run cold. The sky was full of ships, not just human vessels, but craft from hundreds of worlds. Ships that had been built for cargo were now armed with weapons. Research vessels bristled with shields. Even ancient ships that should have been scrapped were flying in formation. Count Zarkil demanded. 27,000 ships, sir, the sensor operator replied, his voice hollow. From every corner of the galaxy. It's impossible. How did so many prey species build a fleet? They did not build it, sir. They converted it. Cargo ships, research, vessels, even civilian transports. The humans taught them how to turn anything into a weapon. Admiral Kungman stood on the bridge of the Soul, Earth's newest warship. Beside him, Ambassador Keith worked at a control station, his tentacles moving across human controls, as if he had been born to use them. Admiral Keith said, I never imagined so many species would come. They have traveled from the far edges of the galaxy. You did not ask them to come, Kungman replied. They came because they chose to. But why? Many of these species have never met humans. Why would they risk everything for strangers? Because they are not fighting for us. Are fighting for themselves. For the right to choose their own future? The battle began at dawn, Earth time. The Apex fleet attacked with the cold efficiency of perfect predators. Their formations were flawless, their tactics proven over 3,000 years of conquest. But the Alliance fought with something the Apex had never faced before. Hope, mixed with desperation, and guided by strategy. They are not following any known battle plan, Vexton reported from his flagship. They adapt constantly. They share information in real time. They learn from every attack. They are making us better fighters by fighting us, Zarkil realized. With growing horror, the Alliance did not fight like a single army. Each species contributed what they did best. The Kinji provided scouting with their speed. The Orvani handled technical warfare with their knowledge. The Zilani coordinated attacks with their natural ability to process complex information, and the humans held it all together, not as leaders but as partners. Sir, the communication officer on the Apex command ship called out the prey species, are requesting our surrender? Surrender? Zarkil's laugh was like an avalanche. We are the apex predators of the galaxy. No, said a new voice. Admiral Kungman appeared on the main screen, his expression calm but determined. You were the apex bullies. There is a difference, human Zarkil snarled. You will learn the natural order of things. We have seen your natural order, Cuman replied. The strong rule the weak, the few control the many. We'll offer you something better. Join us. Help us build a galaxy where every species chooses its own path. Velanatha shifted her form to look exactly like Kungman. And if we refuse, then you will face the same fate as any other bully. You will be stopped. The battle's end was not glorious victory or heroic defeat. It was education. Ship by ship, the Apex fleet was disabled, not destroyed. Their crews were captured, not killed. And in the holding cells, they learned truths that would haunt them forever. You want to know what a real apex predator looks like? Dr. Yunji asked, Vexton, as she studied his psychological profile. It is not the one that kills the most prey. It is the one that makes the whole forest stronger. 6 months later, the Galactic Federation held its first meeting. 300 species gathered in the halls of the former Void Citadel, now called Haven Station. Admiral Kungman stood before the assembly wearing a simple diplomatic uniform. Council recognizes the delegate from the Vorthok Collective. Vexon rose slowly. The collective requests permission to share our defensive technology with species we have wronged. Permission granted. The council recognizes the delegate from the Gorvani Republic. One by one, the former apex species stood and offered their knowledge to those they had once enslaved. It was not enough to undo 3,000 years of oppression, but it was a beginning. Ambassador Keith approached the human delegation after the session. Admiral, why did you refuse to lead the Federation? Your species freed the galaxy. Kungman smiled. Because the moment we accept that authority, we become the next apex. The galaxy does not need new masters. It needs partners, your species. Truly are apex predators. You make everyone stronger. No, Kungman said, looking out at the diverse ships flying together outside the station. We are pack hunters. The best pack hunters know that the strength of the pack is the individual, and the strength of the individual is the pack. age of the apex was over. The age of cooperation had begun.